Ready, set, secure.
Hey there everybody, welcome back for part 2 of this episode. Let's go ahead and dive right in. We're going to go ahead and move on to our subnets that need to be created. First one is going to be our web subnet, which I have here. Again, it's referencing and being built with inside of our main VPC. I'm giving it a CIDR block of 10.0.1.0/24. And since this is a public subnet, I am going to be mapping public IPs on launch for these machines. Right here, I have another subnet called backend, which is going to hold our database servers with inside of our main VPC. And the CIDR block for this one is going to be 10.0.2.0/24. Next, we're going to go into some security groups. The first one is going to be for our Elastic Load Balancer, again, being built inside of our main VPC. This load balancer will allow access from for HTTP from anywhere and outbound internet access to anywhere as well. So if there's any kind of updates that need to be handled on the machines, any kind of new software that's going to be pulling from different libraries or different registries, that we'll be able to have access to do that. As I scroll down, this is going to be our default security group to access the instances over SSH and HTTP. And this is going to be, again, built inside of our main VPC. And then we're going to have SSH from access from anywhere. But we are going to, what I do strongly suggest is either whitelisting your IP with inside of this security group and ingress rule, or making sure that you're accessing this from a specific CIDR block. Say it's your on-premise location, or if you work from home, your home IP address. A little bit further down, I have another ingress rule for port 80, which is where our web server is going to be running, and this traffic is going to be allowed from only within inside of the VPC. Very similarly is going to be our MySQL access on our database servers, only accessible from within inside of the VPC, and then we are going to have outbound internet access as well by default to be able to communicate out. Right here is going to be our first logical resource, or one of our first logical resources that we're going to create for our load balancer. And this has our name of the load balancer, what subnets it's going to be built in, what security groups it's going to use, and what instances are going to be created with inside of that, or going to be attached to that load balancer. And then I just have a brief basic listener for port 8080 and load balancer port of 8080, or 80 as well, I'm sorry. Go ahead and start going down a little bit so we can get into our instances. Right here I have a resource of AWS instance. This one's going to be called Web1. I'm declaring this connection block because what I'm going to do, as you'll see down below, is use another provisioner, which isn't necessarily needed. I just wanted to show that it can be done to do like a remote exec and be able to, once the machine is built, SSH into this machine and then run some commands on the machine after it's booted up to install Nginx and start it. This also shows we're using an instance type of m4.large, and the AMI is being pulled from our variables file as previously discussed for this specific region. Next, we're going to look at, this is going to be using our main security group, and the subnet is going to be in our web subnet. And then we are going to associate a public IP address because it is a public IP, or a public instance. And then down below I have something very similar for Web 2. And then Web 3 as well is going to be the same thing. And then we'll go ahead and get into the database servers. These are going to be a little bit different because what I'm going to do leading into that next episode is going to be installing needed software, which I'll do also on the web servers. I'm not specifically going to use the remote exec provisioner that I showed previously in the web instances. I just wanted to be able to show that it can be done, but I am going to use Ansible to install the software, and that's why I left it off blank here on the database servers. These are also going to be M4 larges with a very similar AMI, and then inside of our main security group is going to be attached to it, and then these are going to be in our backend subnet. Same with database 2 and database 3 instances. One last thing that I did want to show is that there are several CLI commands that you will need to be familiar with when deploying this infrastructure. The first one being Terraform Plan, which will actually show you a plan of everything that's going to be deployed to AWS or whichever cloud provider you're going to use. So let me go ahead and build this up. So what it's going to do is kind of create a state for us, and let me go ahead and scroll back up to the top, and I'll briefly show you this because there is a lot of information and a lot of different things that are going to be created here. It's going to go anything from, it's taking every single variable. So like here's a resource for database 2, knows the AMI. After these known after applies are going to, once the machines are built, you'll be able to see all of these other things. So like what ARN it is, which is specific to AWS, what IP address is created, what availability zone, and then other instance details. So I did want to show that you can use a command, the command Terraform Plan, to just verify that what you're creating is actually going to be created inside of there. And this is just showing you we're going to add 16 resources, there's no changes, and nothing to destroy. So then what you can do after this is run a Terraform apply, and this will start building out everything within inside of your AWS account. And then I would just type in, if you want to perform these actions, type yes. I'll go ahead and do this off screen just because it does take a little while to do. And then once I come back for our next episode, which will be going over Ansible, I'll show you how everything is in there already. And then we'll be able to go ahead and start deploying some software onto those machines. All right. I want to thank everybody for joining me, and have a great day.